Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. Of course, we have lots of information that came out yesterday, role queue, lots of balance changes. Here I want to do a recap of a lot of minor bits and pieces that you may have missed, that Jeff Kaplan spoke about at the end of the developer interview where you may have switched off, and also the Seagull interview. But the first thing I wanted to start with was the biggest complaint I feel that I see against Roadhog is that it limits creativity. And I understand the argument, sure, but Jeff Kaplan heavily disagrees with it, and this is why from the developer interview.
I feel like the most creative people work creatively within constraints. For example, and I know I'm off on a bit of a tangent here, but Shakespeare, one of the greatest writers of all time, wrote beautiful sonnets, and there's no more constrained form of poetry than the sonnet, which is 14 lines of iambic pentameter. I think if Shakespeare can be creative within the sonnet, I'm confident that you all will come up with creative team compositions within a 2-2-2 situation.
It's a really good metaphor as to why Roadhog might work in this fashion, so I wanted to start the video with this. But he also goes into it with a bit more detail in the interview with Seagull. Definitely check Seagull out if you haven't already. He is the face of the Overwatch community, I feel, a real ambassador for the game in a positive fashion, and so I'm glad that he got this opportunity to speak to Jeff. But this is why Jeff thinks role queue is a pretty good thing, and I definitely agree.
I'll give some examples of why I think role queue is going to really benefit people, some of the stuff that they don't see and think about, because I think there's the obvious moments of, you know, my team now has 6 DPS and we don't have a chance to win. I think we all get like why that's not good and how that's ultimately bad for the game and bad for me individually. But there's some other more hidden or innocuous things that are going on that people don't always realize. Like there's the Assemble Heroes moment. 40 seconds when you're in a room with a group of strangers and you have to make decisions about how you're going to spend your time together. It puts a lot of weird social pressure on people, and all of us behave differently. Now, someone like me, I might get in a match, and as I mentioned to you before, I'll sit and I'll let everybody pick their heroes. Well, the game didn't know if I was going to end up playing tank or support, and I am a full skill rating higher on tank than I am on support. And so even though I felt like I was being a good person and a good teammate by going, oh, I'll just fill, let me play Ana in this round, instead of playing Reinhardt, it was like the difference of a full skill rating player being swapped in for your team. So I was actually like causing a big imbalance to my team by playing on the wrong role without me even knowing it or thinking that I'm doing the good thing. I view role queue as not a silver bullet. It's not going to be this thing where Overwatch is 100% perfect after role queue is in place. I just see role queue as a mitigation, a really big mitigation around many of the issues that a lot of us are facing right now.
One confusing area that's come out of this that's probably in the title, maybe not, is the MMR reset, because it's a yes or no answer according to Jeff Kaplan. Has it been reset? Has it been changed because you have 3 different MMRs across DPS, healers, and tanks because there's different SRs? How is that going to work?
This is a weird answer. It's yes and no. In a lot of ways, this is an MMR reset, but not in how the players are viewing an MMR reset. I think when we have a lot of information about you as a player, we have your previous, all role MMR that we know about, and literally for months and for patches, we've been tracking role MMR.
Okay.
So we have a lot of data to seed people with. Everybody's in sort of a different state, but we try as best as possible to take the knowledge we have and seed you a little bit. The most disastrous moments for any competitive game is an MMR reset. It is absolutely terrible. We are not resetting you to 0. We've been doing lots of MMR tracking, and we will adjust your MMR based on prior performance, and we will adjust to role MMR very quickly. And for those of you who have been active, we have been tracking role MMR for months. So we have an idea of where you're at.
Now, a video that we did 2 days ago was talking about how Brigitte was going to get changes according to Blizzard. Another hero on that list was Roadhog, and of course if you've noticed the balance changes, Roadhog isn't on there, he hasn't been changed. Jeff Kaplan answered the question if Roadhog was going to get more changes and why there's nothing on the PTR just yet.
Said, okay, we can take Roadhog and make him into a tank.
Yeah.
We can change that character if we want to. But our first instinct was, let's let the dust settle a little bit. Let's not oversolve every problem right out the gate. Even having a Roadhog on your team in a tank role versus having no tank whatsoever actually helps somewhat. There's a level of damage mitigation that's there. There's just a size that attracts the enemy team. There's some blocking that happens. There is some help that's happening in the tank department. And let's try to leave some of that flavor in place of having not every tank is just Reinhardt with the shield up.
One of the biggest bits of information that we got yesterday, which was certainly not intentional from Blizzard, was Hero 31, Sigma, potentially being leaked. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but it looks likely the Sigma is going to be the next hero based off this screenshot. This is what Jeff Kaplan had to say about him.
A lot of Sigma things. Is this a...
That's a mystery to me.
Mystery?
That sounds really cool. And by mystery, I mean, it's not a mystery at all, but there's lots of exciting things coming this summer. This is going to be a really dramatic week for Overwatch, I think. This change, I think this patch is going to be pretty awesome.
So yeah, this was a pretty exciting quote coming out of Jeff Kaplan for a multitude of reasons. The first is that he doesn't deny that it's Sigma, which I think is really important. We've had in the past where people have brought up Echo as a hero, and Jeff Kaplan has basically gone, yeah, they're not the next hero though, and is pretty much quick to diminish that as a theory. If Sigma wasn't Hero 31, I'm pretty sure Jeff Kaplan would have done the same. But there's two other elements. Said that it's going to be a very exciting summer, so no doubt Sigma is going to come within the next couple of months, so he's not getting pushed back to BlizzCon or whatever. But also he said it's a pretty dramatic week. Now there is a sliver of hope that we may even see Hero 31 next week just from what he said here. There was a lot of backtracking after he said it, so maybe he did slip a little bit too much, but I think that's really pushing it in terms of expectations for Blizzard to announce Hero 31 soon. But Jeff has done anything but confirm that it's Sigma at this point really. You've probably heard the news already, but in case you haven't seen the clip, this is Jeff Kaplan saying that SR decay is no longer a thing and sort of how that will affect the game.
I forgot, this is a big announcement for players like you. There is no more SR decay.
Really?
Yeah. We're just getting rid of it for right now. Now, it creates some problems not having that. And you're going to have some top 500 leaderboard issues with that, and we know that ahead of time. You're going to play 25 matches, you'll have a really good streak, you'll be high up, and then you can just not play again and you'll stay stuck on that leaderboard. But we understand it causes a lot of fatigue and stress in players. For now, we're removing SR decay.
Ever since Apex came out in February, one of the major things it's done so well was implementing a nice ping system. Lots of players turned around and said, we'd love to see that in Overwatch, and I think Jeff Kaplan agreed, but this is his experience with adding a ping system and what they're going to maybe do instead.
We're going to add a ping system to the game.
Yes, that was the question.
Pinging things in 3D space in Overwatch was really weird. Like in Apex, you have to remember that there's these huge height differences that all the characters can get to. Big map, huge sight lines. We actually found that it was very confusing and wasn't super useful. And so we removed it. We actually got rid of it. That's not to say I don't think we could make something like the ping system work. I think we just have to put a little bit more thought against it. It's just if we have 6 solo queue people and they all have the ability to tell everybody else what to do, we all know how that ends up.
One of the things that we complain a lot about on the channel are seasons and how non-impact they feel. Like nothing changes, there's not even a break in between one season ending and another starting. This is one thing that Jeff Kaplan brought up and he agrees. Seasons aren't in a good spot right now.
What I'm interested in exploring first is how can we make the seasons more meaningful or impactful? Because there haven't been enough significant changes to make the seasons feel meaningful, that season fatigue is in place. So I totally agree with the problem. We have a lot of ideas of things we want to try with comp. Our biggest first thing was like, let's do roll queue. Like that was like number one out the gate thing that we thought could help, and not only comp but the whole game. And we're kind of in that like, okay, I don't believe we're done with role queue. I believe that we're in an iteration period now, and it will take our focus for weeks, if not months. But once that settles down, I think we can sort of look on to other things. And I think that's totally valid feedback that the seasons don't feel meaningful right now.
But ultimately, hero bans were also mentioned. I think this was one of the areas that the community have sort of touched on that they'd like to see. And Jeff Kaplan says it's basically coming.
I think we're nearing that point in competitive play. I think sometime in the future you'll see us, it'll be a very simple system. We're not going to get into like map bans and all that. We'll probably just say, hey, for competitive season 21, here's your, I don't know what the number of maps are, 10, 12, like whatever we settle on. We'll probably have to do that at some point.
And finally, this was the last question that Siegel asked Jeff Kaplan before he went away. Basically, is Zenyatta going to be getting some lore? And the answer's quite surprising, not to be very BuzzFeedy there.
Soon.
Really?
Yeah, actually, I shouldn't say soon. I forgot.
This is a Blizzard soon. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Blizzard, look, I want Overwatch community to know, when I say very soon, I mean it, and you can go back and track when I said very soon and then look at the dates. The answer I'm actually supposed to give you is the Blizzard soon.
Okay, Blizzard soon.
If it makes people feel better, lots and lots of active work is going on specifically on Zenyatta lore. I can say that honestly and directly to you. Like, this is something that big efforts are happening against Zenyatta lore. And I'll give it the Blizzard soon. So you have to put the TM after it.
Yeah, the TM.
Yeah,
Trademark,
and that actually means it might be a long time by your standards. But by my standards, it's actually, it's on the horizon at least.
Well, see,
It's hard to say whether we're going to get a new cinematic in summer with Blizzard not being at Gamescom. I'd say it's not really looking likely, so maybe we'll get this Zenyatta cinematic, some lore, a comic, whatever, around the time of BlizzCon is when I would assume. But that's all of the information that I felt was really worth bringing up in a 90-minute segment that Siegel had with Jeff Kaplan, as well as the developer interview. I really do think the Sonic example was a really strong thing for Jeff Kaplan to mention as a reason to have something like Roadhog. But I understand people's negative perceptions of the system. If you are one of those people, do let me know in the comments below. I'll try to build up like a portfolio of reasons why Roll Q might not be a good thing. Not to necessarily argue it in a video, but to just understand where people are coming from. So I'd love to hear you guys what you think. Get on the PTR, try it out yourself before you do have an opinion, and I'll leave it there for today. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you next time.